Hello and welcome to the Ellen Made Book Club. Today I'm going to pick out some books for Shorty September. Shorty September is an annual reading event on booktube that was originally created by Bert and Sean, but they're not like active in the event anymore. And so this year, as it has been previous years, it is hosted by Heather at Too Many Heathers, and there are also two co-hosts this year, which are Karen at Roving Reader and Marcella at Marcella in the Margins. And there are 12 prompts that you can read for, or like pick books that fit if you want to, but the point is just to read short books, whatever that means to you. It can be books that are less than 200 pages or 250 pages or whatever you consider to be a short book. I'm not going to be reading all of the books that I mentioned in this video in September. I think I'm going to make like a separate September TBR video with the spinner wheels and like my other challenges and things like that. But I wanted to make this video first just to see what shorties I have to choose from, and then those can be, you know, books that I have as options in my September TBR video. I hope that makes sense. It's not that complicated. So anyways, the first prompt is crochet shorts, and this is to read a book published by an independent publisher, and I'm a bit fuzzy on like what's an independent publisher and what's not, and like the big five, and everybody seems very informed about publishing, and I'm not. But I do have a book that I think is by an independent publisher. This is from Tusker Rock Press, which is an imprint of Profile Books Limited in London. And I don't know, I think that sounds small and independent. Anyways, this is Offenses by Constance Debré, and this is translated by Jeffrey Zuckerman from the French. This is set in Paris, and there's an unemployed young man who kills an elderly woman for the sake of a 450 euro debt. And so, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be about the ethics of that and like why someone would do that. And I think both of the characters are unnamed, so it's sort of like this could be anyone kind of a deal. Less than 100 pages, and I think it sounds really interesting. The next prompt is hometown shorts, and that is to read a book published by a local author or in a local setting to you. And I think this is supposed to be like very local, but I've already read some local books for other challenges and things. So I'm just gonna go with a Swedish author since I live in Sweden. And so I'm gonna go with Fredrik Backmans and Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This is also a book that I'm reading for HRCYED, as is Offenses. This book has 10 words in the title, so it fits the titular counting prompt for HRCYED. And it's one that I have been wanting to read for a while now, and I think it's going to be a very emotional read. But yeah, I'm curious about it and I want to read it, so I'm gonna try to take advantage of Shorty September as a bit of extra motivation. Prompt number 3 is Sip Off Shorts, and this is to read a shorty that features nature writing or the great outdoors. So for this one I have 3 options, and I'm not sure that any of them will actually fit, but like the rules are kind of fuzzy on this event anyways, and so if anything sort of comes close, it can count. So the first one I have is Women Without Men by Sharnush Parsipur, and this is translated from the Persian by Faridun Farouk. And this is about women, yeah, they arrive by different paths to live together in an abundant garden on the outskirts of Tehran. I figure there has to be some kind of nature in there. I also have Your Shadow Half Remains by Sunny Moraine. This is a sort of dystopian horror thriller book. So it would also fit for the mixed genre prompt later on. But this is set in a post-apocalyptic world where eye contact causes people to spiral into a deadly violent rage. So that sounds interesting. I'm not sure if this is set outdoors, but I get that feeling when it's post-apocalyptic, you're like probably sort of sheltering in a house, but then you also have to like go outside and do stuff to survive. So I associate that with being in the great outdoors. And then I also have a book that I picked up the other day in the bookstore, and that is Highway Blue by Ailsa McFarlane. This is more of like a road trip setting, I think. Anne-Marie's husband Cal left her on their first anniversary 2 years later, and she's still adrift, living a precarious life of shift work and shared apartments. When he suddenly shows up on her doorstep, clearly in trouble, she reluctantly agrees to a drink. But later that night, a gun goes off in an alley near the shore, and the young couple flee together, crammed into a beat-up car with their broken past. Prompt number 4 is Postal Shorts. Read a shorty set in a country you'd like to have a pen pal in. For this one, I kind of just put something in that was in a different country than my own. Like I don't know, any country would be fine. But I've put The Night of Baba Yaga by Akira Otani on this prompt, sort of tentatively. This is also translated by Sam Bett. I'm thinking I might try to get to this one in August, or possibly another one, because of the HRCYED side quest to read a book with blood on the cover, and this one has that. And I've been wanting to read this since last September. This is a Japanese thriller where there's a girl who has been kidnapped by the Yakuza, and then there's another girl there, I think, and she sort of becomes protective over her or wants to rescue her, something along those lines. The pages are sort of sparse and the font is big, and so yeah, I think this is going to be a quick one. I've also put Mestra by Madeline Miller on this prompt. That is a short story that comes out towards the end of the month, and I'm gonna have that on audiobook, and that is a retelling of Greek mythology, and so I'm counting that as Greece. So if I read The Night of Baba Yaga in August, I still have another backup option. Prompt number 5 is Hairy Shorts, a shorty that features an animal character, and this prompt is in honor of Heather's dog Macy, who sadly passed away. I have Travel Light by Naomi Mitchison, which is a fantasy classic, and this has all kinds of animal characters in it. There are dragons and horses and unicorns and bears and stuff like that, and I'm about halfway through. I sort of lost momentum, so I'm not sure how excited I am to read it, but also I would like to finish it and just get it off my TBR, and if I end up not liking it, I will pass it on to someone else who will enjoy it more, or it might pick up and be better than it has been so far. I liked it in the start, and then it sort of lost me along the way, but they are on a ship now, I think, and on their way to some country, and I don't know. I'm still curious about it, so I might pick this one for the animal prompt. Prompt number 6 is Cargo Shorts, and that is to read a shorty that's helpful in a pickle. One is Helium by Ruby Francisco, and this is a poetry collection. So this should be, it's already very slim, and it's also just a collection of poems. This is helpful to me for HRCYED, where you need to read books with different elements in the title, and this one obviously has helium in the title. And then I also have The Two Doctors Gorski by Isaac Fellman, which is a similar kind of pickle. I needed a book with the number 2 in the title, and my only other option that I had was Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, and I'm not really excited about that one, so this would help me avoid reading that book. I'm sure it's great, it's just not one that I am very excited to read, so it will be very helpful to me to have something that I am excited about. It's about 170 pages or so, and this is about two psychologists, or one psychologist in particular, who is called Anna or Anna, I'm not really sure, and she reads people's minds. And then there's another psychology professor, who she comes in contact with, and he's the mirror of her, and there's some kind of a thing. This has both literary fiction and fantasy listed as genres, so this would also fit for the mixed genre prompt that's coming up. And then I also added in Thunderhead by Miranda Darling here. I'm not sure what kind of pickle that was helpful for, but it's a book that I am interested to read. I've had it on my radar for a long time, and then I saw Keri at Keri Books read it and enjoy it, and so I was like, I want to read that too. So I don't know. That's just sort of thrown on there. Next, we have Ripped Shorts, which is to read a thriller, horror, or mystery. I could do either of these that I have already mentioned, The Night of Baba Yaga or Your Shadow Half Remains. A couple of other options that I have are Of Cattle and Men by Ana Paula Maya, which is translated by Zoe Perry. I'm not 100% sure what this one is about, but I enjoyed On Earth as It Is Beneath by the same author, and there seems to be some overlap with the characters. It's set in Brazil, and the previous book that I read was brutal and very suspenseful and very fast-paced, so I'm sort of expecting this one to be along the same lines. And then a book that I found in Stockholm a bit randomly was You Were Never Really Here by Jonathan Ames, and this is a thriller with a former FBI agent and Marine called Joe, and he has witnessed things, and he is earning a living rescuing girls from sex trade, and he's been hired to save the daughter of a New York senator. I thought this one sounded good, and I also like started reading the first page of it, and it's like immediately some kind of a fight scene. So yeah, I think this is going to be action-packed and suspenseful and a fun time, and it is very short, less than 100 pages. There might be some other options. I'm sure The Night Guest by Hildur Knutsdottir could work as well. This is translated from the Icelandic by Mary Robinette Kowal. Yeah, this one has been on my TBR for a long time, and I'm curious about it and also scared. There's also a short story mystery by Agatha Christie that I have been eyeing, also for the HRCYED prompt, the rainbow one, and specifically the color yellow iris. That's only like 30 minutes on audio. So I figured that might be an option. Moving on to prompt number 8, which is Denim Shorts, and that is to read a short modern classic. So I guess the Agatha Christie could work for that as well. I also have Recitative by Toni Morrison, which is a very short little book by her. It's like 40 pages. So yeah, this would definitely qualify for Shorty September. I didn't realize it was this short. I've been wanting to try Toni Morrison, but I'm kind of intimidated. All of her books seem to be really like emotionally hard-hitting, and you know, it's just something that you kind of need to be in the mood for. So I figured maybe I'll just like ease into her writing with something shorter. And this one sounds really interesting to me. There are two women or girls, they meet as children and have a friendship, and I think one of them is white and one is black, but you don't know which one is which. And I just think that sounds like a very interesting premise for a story. And yeah, I've heard good things. This copy also has an introduction by Sadie Smith, so it seems like the actual story is even shorter. Oh, okay, so like the actual story is about 40 pages, but it's only like the second half of the book. The introduction is almost as long as the story itself. Anyways, this one was first published in 1983. So yeah, I would say that counts as a modern classic. Prompt number 9 is Half and Half Shorts, which is to read a shorty and then watch the movie. I don't have anything picked out for this one, and I think last year I read Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, and I was gonna watch the movie and then I never did. So maybe I should just watch Fight Club and, you know, call it a day. Let me know if any of the other books that I mentioned in this video are made into a movie, and maybe I'll watch that. We'll see. Moving on to prompt number 10, which is Runway Fashion Shorts, and that is to read a translated shorty. And I have a lot just from the ones that I've mentioned. I have 5, Women Without Men, translated from the Persian, Offenses from the French, The Night Guest from the Icelandic, Of Cattle and Men from the Portuguese, and The Night of Baba Yaga from the Japanese. And then if I need more options, I have them. The first one is The Witch by Marie Ndaye, which is translated by Jordan Stump from the French. And this is about a woman, and she has daughters, and the woman is a witch, and she's passing on that gene to the daughters. And I'm not really sure what the story is, but it sounds interesting, and it was on the International Booker Prize shortlist this year. And I also have Minor Detail by Adania Shibli, which is translated from the Arabic by Elizabeth Jacquet. And this is set in Palestine, and I haven't read the back of it because it's very short and I don't want to know exactly what's happening before I read it. But I've heard good things, and yeah, this one is one that I'm very curious about as well. And then we're up to prompt number 11, which is Elton John's Wedding Shorts. Read An Outrageous Shorty. For this one, I think I might go with The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Filia. I really want to read this before the next book of hers comes out. The True Confessions of First Lady Freeman. I think it's the title of that book. But this one is sort of a short story collection-ish about different church ladies and their relationships and their love life. I think this could be considered outrageous by some, and like the secret lives in contrast with the church. Like that's outrageous in itself. This is about 200 pages. I also have a couple of options on audiobook. The first one is Dance Floor by Victor Jestin. I think this one might be translated from the French as well. It doesn't have the translator's name on here. From what I understand, it's about this man who just keeps coming to the club. Like, he's older than everybody else, but he just keeps going there, which sounds sort of tragic and possibly funny at the same time. It says, by day, Arthur is a loner, shy and awkward. He fails at relationship and doesn't even make the first rung of a career ladder. But by night, he is a star, electrifying the dance floor and lighting up the night of those around him. But as he nears 40, even those who work at the beach start to worry about him. I think it sounds like an interesting premise, and it's only about 4.5 hours on audiobook, so that's an option. And maybe it's not super outrageous, but I just feel like it fits the Elton John vibe of it all. And I don't know what the story is yet, so we'll see how outrageous it is. I also have We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Bervoets. Is that a Dutch author? I think. It's translated by Emma Rault. I'm probably saying this wrong. Marcella, maybe you can help me out. Marcella has read this, I can see on Storygraph, and she rated it 3.5 stars. This follows Kaylee, who is a content moderator on a social platform whose name she isn't allowed to mention. We follow her and her relationships with her coworkers and things. There also seems to be a love story in here. I started reading Moderation by Elaine Castillo, and that was a little bit too much for me. So I'm not sure how I'm gonna go with We Had to Remove This Post, but we'll see. The last prompt is the one that I have been referencing this whole time, and that is Patchwork Shorts, a shorty that is a blend of genres. I think The Two Doctors Gorsky could work as a literary fantasy type of book. You Were Never Really Here I've added as well as some kind of a thriller horror book maybe. I also have Strange Houses by Uketsu as an option. Again, I might try to read this one in August because this one also has blood on the cover for the HRCYED side quest. It's less than 200 pages, and this is a horror mystery. And then I also put Elder Race by Adrian Tchaikovsky on here. I have that on audiobook, and this is a mix of fantasy and science fiction. I'm not sure what the story is about, but again, it fits a HRCYED prompt. It fits the It's My Birthday tree prompt: a junior anthropologist on a distant planet must help the locals he has sworn to study to save a planet from an unbeatable foe. And then we have the bonus prompt, which is Lost Property Shorts, and that is, you know, any book that didn't fit any of the other prompts. Machine by Susan Steinberg. I think this one sounds really interesting. It says it's daringly experimental, a kaleidoscopic interrogation of gender, class, and privilege, an unforgettable rendering of youth spinning out of control. It's about this girl who is living it up in the summertime and drinking and taking pills, and her family's rich, and she, you know, appears untouchable, but her parents are divorcing and her brother is getting violent, and it says, as her identity unravels, she circles back to the night that a local girl drowned and no one tried to save her. And it's written in like sort of stream of consciousness, little vignette things, and yeah, I've read a couple of pages and it was very like mesmerizing. Just sort of sucks you in. This is about 150 pages or so, and yeah, it's one that I have been looking forward to, and I think it might be a good one at, like, you know, the end of summer. I think those are all of the books that I wanted to mention. I might do like a recommendations video. I feel like I've been reading a lot of short books within the last year. No promises, and I don't know if they would fit any of the prompts, but you know, we can read any short books in Shorty September or any time of year. So yeah, we'll see if and when I get around to that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.